When Donald Trump stepped out of his black SUV into the pouring Georgia rain, no one could have predicted what would happen next. Not the Secret Service, not the Waffle House cook watching from behind the greasy window, and certainly not the tired veterans mopping the floors inside. The storm had forced a detour off E-75. His rally in Macon was postponed due to tornado warnings, and the motorcade had been crawling for miles when Trump spotted the flickering yellow sign, Waffle House, open 24 hours. He pointed. That one. Pull in. Rain slammed the windshield like bullets. The driver hesitated. Sir, it's not secure. Trump shook his head. No one's going to ambush me with a plate of waffles. I want to talk to someone who works for a living. Inside, the smell hit him first. Burnt coffee, bacon grease, and something faintly metallic. The floor squeaked under his shoes. A waitress with chipped nail polish blinked at him like she was seeing a ghost. Are you who I think you are? Trump smiled. Depends who you think I am. He slid into a booth near the back, ignoring the row of stunned cooks, vets, and dishwashers frozen mid-task. No cameras, no podium, no crowd, just him, the storm, and a staff that looked like they'd seen too many broken dreams and too few miracles. A skinny guy in an old army field jacket came over with a coffee pot. He didn't say a word, just poured. His name tag said Randy. Trump took a sip. That's not coffee. That's hot regret in a cup. Randy cracked a smile. Yeah, well, you want gourmet? You're 10 miles too far north. Trump looked at him, really looked. He saw the hollow eyes, the tired posture, the scars hidden under a sleeve. You serve? 3 tours. Fallujah, Kandahar, and unemployment. Another cook yelled from the back. Tell him about the bonus system, Randy. 1 free waffle for every 100 hours you work. Laughter. Bitter, but real. Trump leaned back, hands steepled. Who owns this place? The waitress nodded toward a plaque on the wall. Technically, a company in Delaware. But we call it ours, 'cause we keep it from falling apart. Not for long, Trump muttered. Outside, the rain kept pounding. Inside, time slowed. He spent 20 minutes asking them questions. Real questions. What did they need? What kept them up at night? Why were half of them working 2 jobs while living in broken-down cars or weekly motels? One guy, Big Joe, a former Marine, stood at the counter flipping hash browns with one hand and gripping a crumpled eviction notice in the other. He hadn't told anyone, but he was hours from sleeping under a bridge. Trump saw it sticking out of his apron, took it, read it, didn't say a word, just nodded. Then he stood. All right, everyone, listen up. Forks stopped clinking. A waitress shut off the radio. Outside, thunder cracked like cannon fire. Trump cleared his throat. This country's got it backwards. You fight for your flag, bleed for your nation, come home, and they hand you a spatula and minimum wage. That ends tonight. Silence. He pulled out his phone. Eric, I need you to wire funds. We're buying a Waffle House. Dead silence. Then Randy dropped the coffee pot. It didn't break. It just bounced and rolled like even gravity was confused. You're what? The cook asked. I'm buying this Waffle House, not just to own it, to fix it. Every one of you gets a raise, a roof, a real future. We're turning this place into a model. Phase 1 of a national veterans program. We'll call it Operation Grit. The room stayed frozen. Then Big Joe muttered, You serious? Trump looked him dead in the eye. I don't joke about vets, Joe. A few phones started buzzing. Word was spreading fast. The waitress looked out the window. Reporters were already pulling in, headlights slicing through the rain. Randy whispered, "Why us?" Trump smiled. "Because no one else would. And that's the point." He walked outside into the storm without an umbrella. Cameras chased him. But for a brief moment, he wasn't playing to them. He stood under that flickering yellow Waffle House sign like it was a beacon, a lighthouse in the American fog. Inside, Big Joe sat down and finally took a break. The story was just beginning. By the time the rain slowed to a drizzle, the parking lot was full of satellite vans and flashing lights. Reporters shouted questions Trump ignored as he stood by the door holding a clipboard someone had handed him. Inside, he'd asked for names, service branches, and what everyone actually wanted to do with their lives. Not one person said, "Scrub grill grease until I die." Randy had written "mechanic or auto restoration" in all caps. Big Joe wanted to start a carpentry business. One waitress said she used to write poetry. Another used to train dogs for the army. "We were something once," she said, barely above a whisper. "I just want to be something again." Trump circled each answer. "Good. You're not just flipping waffles anymore. This is now a launch pad." At 2:14 a.m., Trump was still there. He'd called in an accountant, a lawyer, and his personal chef, just so you know what food is supposed to taste like. Within the hour, contracts were signed. Waffle House HQ was notified. The building was paid for in full. Deeds changed hands over scrambled eggs. The Secret Service was livid, but Trump waved them off. "This is why I ran," he said. "Not for billionaires, for these guys." That night, Operation Grit was born. The rules were simple. If you were a vet, homeless, or had served in any capacity and had nowhere to go, you got a job, a bed, and a mentor. The kitchen would stay open, but it would also be a classroom. Every cook would rotate out weekly for business training. Every server would learn logistics or marketing. And no one, not even Trump, was allowed to treat anyone like they were just anything. "You're not just a dishwasher," Trump told a quiet man named Luis. "You were the 82nd Airborne. That's leadership. We're just reminding people who they are." By sunrise, the American flag out front had been replaced with a newer one. Trump had personally raised it. Randy filmed the moment and uploaded it to X, formerly Twitter, with a caption, "He didn't just raise the flag, he raised all of us." The video hit 11 million views in 6 hours. Across the country, something strange started happening. Vets showed up at other Waffle Houses, at first just to eat, then to ask if they could join the program. Calls flooded in. Trump's team scrambled to keep up. CNN called it a PR stunt. MSNBC said it was reckless. But something bigger was happening, and people felt it. A movement was forming out of hot coffee, courage, and cast-iron pans. In Georgia, the original Waffle House had transformed overnight. Trump didn't sleep. He made calls, pulled strings, donated $5 million of his own money to fund 5 more locations in Alabama, Tennessee, and Ohio. He named Randy manager of the first location. Full benefits. Company car. Randy cried, said he hadn't cried since Iraq. Big Joe was put in charge of training. His first act? Putting in a punching bag out back. "Not everyone wants to talk," he said. "Some of us need to hit something first." A young man named Devin, who'd been sleeping in a tent by the river, walked in after seeing the story on TikTok. He was 30 pounds underweight and hadn't spoken a full sentence in months. Trump walked in during lunch, saw him sitting alone and sat across from him. "You hungry?" Devin nodded. "You want a job?" Another nod. "You want your life back?" Devin finally spoke. "I don't know how." Trump leaned in. "That's what we're going to teach you." By week's end, Devin was making hash browns and had started smiling again. But it wasn't just about waffles. Trump brought in veterans-turned-entrepreneurs to mentor staff. Former Navy SEALs taught morning workouts. Retired colonels gave leadership seminars over biscuits and gravy. Local churches donated blankets, Bibles, and even guitars. One pastor said, "This place is what the VA was supposed to be." Somewhere between the fried eggs and hope, a new American idea was cooking. One morning, the cook turned up the radio. A popular talk show host was asking callers what they thought of Trump's Waffle House revolution. One vet from Chicago called in and said, "It's the first time I've felt seen since I came home." And maybe that was the point. It wasn't about the building. It wasn't even about Trump. It was about remembering people, seeing them, restoring the pieces that society had ignored. As Trump stood by the counter sipping his coffee, this time actually hot, he looked around at the laughter, the motion, the rebirth of dignity. "This," he said quietly, "is what winning looks like." 3 days after the first pancake flipped under Operation Grit, the media storm reached a fever pitch. The story was everywhere. Morning shows argued over motives. Podcasters debated impact. Headlines screamed, "Trump turns Waffle House into war zone of kindness," and "Former President funds veteran utopia at roadside diner." Critics called it a distraction. Supporters called it divine. But inside the Waffle House, things were simple. Randy made schedules on an old clipboard. Big Joe yelled out breakfast orders like a drill sergeant. Devin laughed for the first time in 5 years when someone spilled syrup on Trump's custom tie. Trump didn't flinch. He just wiped it off and said, "Now it's worth more." By now, 5 more locations were underway. Each had its own personality. In Montgomery, Alabama, a converted Waffle House doubled as a halfway house. In Cleveland, Ohio, the building had been abandoned. Trump funded its total rebuild, insisting it include a music room for therapy. Veterans who had once been forgotten were suddenly builders, managers, counselors. But not everyone was cheering. In D.C., political pundits scoffed. "Waffles can't fix trauma," one anchor said. "He's trying to solve complex issues with butter and bravado." Trump heard that quote while sitting at the counter next to Luis, the dishwasher with the 82nd Airborne tattoo. He didn't react, just reached for a pen and scribbled something on a napkin. Later that day, his team released a simple message. "Butter and bravado didn't start this country, but grit and purpose can rebuild it." DJT. It went viral instantly. Back in Georgia, something strange happened that week. A tall man in a black hoodie came in during the night shift. Quiet, tired eyes. He sat in the corner and didn't eat, didn't speak. Randy offered him water. He nodded. That was it. Trump was there that night, working on logistics for the next city. He noticed the man, walked over, sat across from him. "Name?" The man looked up slowly. "Marcus." "You serve?" "Marine Corps." Trump nodded. "What year?" "Oh, 8 to 13. Afghanistan." A long pause. "You sleeping in your car?" Another pause. "Was. Got towed last week." Trump waved Randy over. "Get him food. Real food. Eggs. Steak. The works." Marcus spoke again. I'm not here for charity. Trump leaned in. This ain't charity. It's restoration. Marcus looked away. Don't need a speech. You're not getting one, Trump said. You're getting a shot. They sat in silence. The food arrived. Marcus ate slow, like he didn't trust it to last. By the end of the meal, Trump stood to clap. The staff clapped too. Marcus didn't. Trump noticed. Later that night, he asked Randy, "What's his story?" Randy shrugged. Doesn't talk much. Said he lost his unit in an ambush. Never forgave himself. Trump stayed behind after hours. Found Marcus sitting out back, staring at the dumpster like it held answers. You know, Trump said, I've had days where I didn't clap either. Marcus didn't respond. I've been hated, mocked, misquoted, betrayed by people I trusted. You think being president is applause? It's bleeding in public. Marcus finally turned. Then why keep doing it? Trump smiled. Because people like you are still out here. The next morning, Marcus showed up early, clean shirt, cut his hair. He asked if he could wash dishes. Luis handed him an apron and said, "Welcome home." That day, the Waffle House wasn't just a restaurant. It was a church, a base, a place where healing didn't come in silence but through shared motion, stacking plates, pouring coffee, picking each other up. Reporters kept calling. Trump kept saying no interviews. Let the story speak, he told his staff. But privately, he wrote letters to every family of every vet who walked through the door. Handwritten. Each one signed, sealed, and delivered personally. Some came with a Bible verse. Others came with job offers. Marcus got his letter on Sunday. Inside was a note. You may not clap, but you're standing again. That's enough for today. He framed it, hung it over the kitchen pass window. When asked what changed him, he just said, he saw me. No one else did. And for the first time since the ambush, Marcus smiled without guilt. By the start of the second week, traffic had to be redirected around the Georgia Waffle House. A line stretched down the block, not for food, but for hope. Veterans came from Kentucky, North Carolina, and Florida. Some walked, some hitchhiked, others drove until their gas ran out. They didn't want money. They wanted to work, to serve again, to belong. Trump saw it coming. He'd been on the phone all night with local officials, buying up adjacent lots, acquiring a shuttered laundromat next door to turn into sleeping quarters. He even called a friend in Texas to ship in trailers fitted with bunks. A former Army medic named Erica took charge of the mobile clinic setup. She hadn't practiced in 10 years. By Friday, she was running triage for homeless vets, with everything from infections to untreated PTSD. But the real turning point came Sunday morning. A local pastor knocked on the door with a Bible in hand and tears in his eyes. He asked if he could borrow the dining room. I usually preach in a warehouse behind the Dollar Tree, he said. But God's moving here, and people are hungry for more than waffles. Trump gave him the keys. It's your pulpit now. That morning, the Waffle House turned into a church. Booths became pews. Syrup bottles lined the windows like stained glass. Randy led worship with a beat-up guitar. Big Joe read Psalm 34. Marcus stood in the back, arms folded, listening. The pastor's voice cracked as he said, There are places where men are forgotten. But not here. Not today. Today, you are seen. Trump stood quietly, hands in his coat pockets. He didn't speak. Didn't need to. His presence was enough. And when the pastor called for anyone who wanted prayer, The line wrapped through the booths and out the door. A woman named Cheryl, whose son had overdosed 2 years ago, came forward to volunteer. "If someone had reached my boy," she said, "maybe he'd still be alive." Trump nodded. "Then let's make sure someone else's boy gets reached." He offered her a job coordinating volunteer outreach. She cried, hugged him. "Thank you for not treating us like statistics." The next day, Trump introduced the Pancake Pact. Every veteran who joined Operation Grit had to sign one simple agreement, scrawled on a laminated page taped to the back wall. The Pancake Pact. You will believe in your worth, even when it hurts. You will lift the brother or sister beside you. You will work like your life depends on it. Because it might. You will forgive yourself for the past. And you will never, ever give up. Each vet signed in Sharpie. Some added dates. Others drew tiny flags or Bible verses. Marcus signed last. Under his name, he wrote, "For the ones who didn't make it." Trump made copies and sent them to every new Grit location. It wasn't a legal contract. It was spiritual, unbreakable. The original hung above the counter, framed between an American flag and a worn photo of a soldier kneeling at a grave. Meanwhile, calls poured in from other restaurants. IHOP offered to donate food. A Chick-fil-A franchise owner asked how to replicate the model. A chain of BBQ joints in Tennessee pledged to create their own Grit kitchens. But Trump stayed focused. "One stove at a time," he told reporters who finally got 5 minutes with him outside the parking lot. They asked why Waffle House. Why not build something new? He looked at the yellow sign behind him. "Because it's real. It's gritty. It's where America eats after it's been knocked down. We didn't need perfect. We needed true." That night, a new vet named Dylan showed up, 22 years old. Purple Heart. His voice trembled when he introduced himself. "I used to be someone. Now, I'm just a burden." Trump stood up. "Not anymore." He turned to the kitchen. "Randy, make him the welcome pancakes." Randy smiled. "Extra butter?" Trump winked. "Extra everything." As the team crowded around the griddle, someone turned up the radio. Sinatra's "My Way" came on. Big Joe started humming. Devin danced badly. And for a moment, the Waffle House didn't feel like a diner. It felt like America on its best day. Trump sat at the booth, sipping black coffee, watching it all unfold. "You see that?" he said to no one in particular. "That's what a second chance tastes like." And the next morning, they ran out of Sharpies. The new shipment of Sharpies arrived at dawn. A volunteer named Annie, a military widow from Savannah, organized them in a mason jar near the Pancake Pact frame. "Every name here means something," she said as she wiped the glass. "It means they came back to life." By now, the Georgia Waffle House had become a symbol. Veterans who had never met shared rooms. Former enemies in uniform shared breakfast. Staff called it the Veterans Table, the big corner booth where nobody sat alone unless they chose to. And if you did sit there, someone always slid in beside you within 5 minutes. That was the rule. No forgotten soldiers. One morning, a man walked in with a clean polo shirt and tight jaw. His shoes were too polished for the floors, his handshake too stiff. He sat at the counter and watched for 20 minutes before speaking. "I'm looking for Donald Trump." Big Joe motioned to the corner. Trump was folding napkins, trying to show Devin how to do it military style. "There," Joe said. "He's the guy with the napkin campaign." The man approached slowly. "Mr. Trump, I'm General Lawson's son." Trump looked up. Air Force General Lawson? Yes. My father served 3 tours. He passed last year. Quietly. No honors. No memorial. Just silence. I'm sorry, Trump said. The man nodded. He always respected you. And I've watched what you've built here. I don't know how to help, but I want in. Trump paused, looked at the man's face. You know how to organize? Yes, sir. You know how to get things done under pressure? Yes, sir. Trump smiled. Congratulations. You're the new logistics director for Operation Grit. The man blinked. But I haven't. Your dad served this country with his life. You're serving it with what's left. That's enough. Later that week, General Lawson's name was added to the Pancake Pact wall, with a small flag and a handwritten note. Gone, but never off duty. The media picked up the story. The phrase, "No Forgotten Soldiers," started trending on social media. Stickers and bumper magnets were printed. Donations poured in. But Trump turned down every offer to turn it into a foundation. This isn't a brand, he told a billionaire who offered to franchise it. It's a fire. And fires don't belong in boardrooms. Meanwhile, the 5th Grit location opened in Nashville inside a converted truck stop. A veteran named Sarah, who had once lived in her car, now ran the books and taught others how to budget. I used to think I was stupid, she told Trump over coffee. Turns out I just needed someone to hand me the calculator. Back in Georgia, the veterans' table became the heartbeat of the building. Each day, new faces joined. Some broken, some angry. All searching. One night, Trump sat at the table with Marcus, Devin, Randy, and a new arrival named Lionel who hadn't spoken since arriving. Trump passed him the syrup. You believe in second chances, Lionel? The man didn't answer. Trump smiled. That's okay. Belief doesn't start in your mouth. It starts in your hands. He slid a dish toward him. Eat first. We'll talk later. Lionel ate, slowly, methodically. And at the end of the meal, he picked up a Sharpie and signed the Pancake Pact. Just his initials, LH. No words were said, but no one missed the meaning. That same night, Trump held a staff meeting, not in an office, at the counter. This isn't just about food, he said. It's about forming an army of redemption, and we're just getting started. Randy raised his hand. Sir, what happens if the media tries to shut us down? Trump grinned. Then we open more kitchens. Let them try to cancel bacon and hope. Everyone laughed. Devin passed out fresh T-shirts with a new slogan. Faith. Flapjacks. Freedom. By midnight, 2 more vets had arrived. One missing a leg, the other missing hope. They both signed the pact. And in a quiet corner of the Waffle House, Marcus started clapping first. It was just after 3 a.m. when Randy found it. An envelope tucked beneath the syrup caddy in booth 7. No name, just the word "for him." Randy turned it over twice, then walked it to Trump, who was dozing in a chair near the coffee machine. Sir, someone left this. Trump blinked awake, rubbed his eyes, and opened it slowly. Inside was a single sheet of yellow notebook paper. The handwriting was shaky, but bold. Dear Mr. Trump, my name is William. I'm 74 years old. I served in Vietnam. For 50 years I felt invisible. I watched friends fade, dreams die, and America forget. I saw you on the news buying a Waffle House. Thought it was a joke. Then I saw the men in the parking lot, smiling. I haven't smiled since 1972. Tomorrow I'm getting on a bus. I want to shake your hand before I die. I just want to be seen before I go. With hope. William H. Kendrick. P.S. I'll be wearing a green cap. It's all I have left from the war. Trump folded the letter slowly. He didn't speak. Just looked out the window into the parking lot where the streetlight flickered over a U.S. flag someone had zip-tied to the dumpster. Then he looked back at Randy. When that bus pulls in, you make sure he's brought straight to me. Randy nodded. 12 hours later, a Greyhound rumbled into the lot. The place went quiet. You'd think a president had walked in. But it was just a man with a cane, a limp, and a faded green cap. His hands shook as he stepped onto the curb. A crowd of veterans, workers, and volunteers parted as he slowly entered the Waffle House. Trump stood from his booth. "You must be William." The old man's chin quivered. "You read my letter?" Trump nodded. "You matter." "I've never been told that. Not once." Trump reached out and took his hand. "Then let's make up for lost time." The entire restaurant stood. Not a dry eye. Randy grabbed a Sharpie and handed it to William. The old man looked at the Pancake Pact. "I never thought I'd sign anything again." He scrawled his name in big, looping letters beneath Marcus's. Trump pulled out a chair. "Sit here. You've earned it." They gave him the veterans' table. The whole thing. Just for him. William ate in silence at first. Pancakes, scrambled eggs, black coffee. Then he leaned back and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "This is the first time I've felt full in 50 years, and it ain't the food." Applause broke out. That night, a man in a wheelchair arrived, paralyzed from the waist down, said he heard about the house that served hope. Trump wheeled him inside himself, didn't let anyone else touch the chair. Another man came in with a dog tag around his neck, and no idea what day it was. He'd been living under a bridge. They signed the pact, too. Later that evening, Marcus found a drawing someone had left behind in the bathroom. It showed a stack of pancakes, a U.S. flag, and a broken rifle planted like a cross. At the bottom it said, "We rise again." They pinned it beside the pact. Randy wrote a post. Another day, another soul rescued by butter and belief. It got 8 million views in 2 hours. Trump stayed late again, walking the building, touching each booth like he was blessing it. "You know what this is, Randy?" he asked as he locked the door behind them. "What, sir?" "A battlefield, just a different kind. And we're winning." The next morning, they served a record 417 plates of pancakes. The coffee never stopped brewing. And neither did the hope. The Waffle House woke to silence that Tuesday. No music, no jokes in the kitchen. Randy stood by the grill, flipping bacon without a word. Big Joe sat in a booth staring at the wall. William Kendrick, the 74-year-old Vietnam vet who signed the pact just days ago, had passed in his sleep at the shelter house behind the building. Peaceful, quiet, alone. He never got to see the second Waffle House open in Kentucky. But he died with his green cap still on, and a framed copy of the Pancake Pact beside his bed. Trump got the call at 5:42 a.m. He didn't speak for nearly a minute, just listened. Then he whispered, "He came here to be seen. Now we make sure he's remembered." That day, Trump canceled every meeting, every call. He walked into the Waffle House with a folded flag under his arm and called for a full stop. "We're closing the kitchen today," he said. "We're going to bury a soldier with honor." The staff didn't argue. Not a single eye rolled. Not a single complaint. Even the customers who had lined up outside for breakfast stayed silent when they heard the reason. Randy organized the chairs. Devin found a local pastor. Marcus printed a program with William's face and the words, "He was not forgotten." Trump gave the eulogy. He didn't die rich, he didn't die famous, but he died with his dignity returned. He died after being seen. That's what this place is about. That's what America forgot, and what we are now remembering. He folded the flag slowly, walked it to the front, placed it in William's empty chair. No one clapped, no one cheered, they just stood. Later, Trump called his team together. "We need a program for this, a burial initiative. No more forgotten graves. Every vet who dies under Operation Grit gets a flag, a eulogy, and a full room." He named it the Final Salute. The very next day, a woman arrived with a dusty photo album and 2 shoeboxes. Her brother, a Marine, had overdosed 3 years ago behind a gas station. "I never got to bury him right," she said. Trump opened the boxes. Inside were medals, letters, and a folded flag stained with tears. He called the team to action. Within 48 hours, they held a second service. The Pancake Pact now had a second frame, in honor of those we couldn't save in time. And then something unexpected happened. A group of high school students from a local ROTC program walked in with handmade cards and drawings. They asked if they could serve coffee for a day. "Our grandpa was a vet," one girl said. "He always said this country just needed to remember." Trump gave each of them an Operation Grit apron. Later that afternoon, a storm rolled in. Thunder echoed across the pavement like distant artillery. The lights flickered once, but held steady. Marcus was in the back prepping onions when he noticed something outside. A man, mid-30s, soaking wet, carrying a duffel bag and a photo of his daughter, laminated and bent. Trump met him at the door. "I heard about the funeral," the man said. "I haven't been sober in 9 months, but I need a place where I can try." Trump looked him over. "Name?" "Carlos." "You ready to sign the pact?" Carlos hesitated. "I don't know if I deserve it." Trump handed him a Sharpie. "You do now." He signed. His hands shook. But he signed. That night, Randy made pancakes for everyone who had ever served or cried in that booth. William's chair remained empty, but his picture stayed on the wall, with 4 simple words beneath it. He was seen here. And before closing, Trump stood by the coffee machine and made a quiet promise to the staff. "No one dies unseen ever again. Not on my watch." The rain stopped by sunrise. The sky was gold over Georgia. A fresh American flag whipped in the wind above the Waffle House roof. This one raised by Carlos, the new guy, who hadn't had a drink in 4 days. He stood straighter now, ate slower, smiled once. Randy said that was a good sign. Inside, the Pancake Pact had grown so large it now wrapped around 2 walls. Every day new names showed up. Some signed in sharp, military print. Others scribbled like they hadn't held a pen in years. Trump refused to let anyone erase a single one, not even the ones smudged by syrup, coffee, or tears. That morning, a group of local leaders stopped by. Mayors, sheriffs, business owners. They asked to speak with Trump privately. He met them at booth 9, the one where the ketchup bottle always leaked. "Mr. Trump," the mayor began, "we're seeing something here we can't explain. Crime's down. Volunteers are up. Churches are full. Schools are asking about getting involved. This place, it's doing something to our people." Trump leaned back. No mystery to it. You take care of forgotten people, and they start remembering who they are. One sheriff nodded. We want to help. You've got 10 cities ready to donate buildings, staff, land, whatever you need. Trump didn't hesitate. Then let's hold a town hall. Here. Tonight. The sheriff blinked. In the Waffle House? In the only place in America right now where every kind of person's telling the truth, Trump said. That night, chairs were set up in the parking lot. The grill shut down at 5 p.m. sharp. Devin set up speakers. Marcus helped old vets out of their trucks. Sarah brought her guitar. A kid from ROTC opened with the pledge. Trump stepped up wearing jeans and a windbreaker, not a suit. No teleprompter, he said. No politics, just pain and pancakes. Let's talk. A woman in a MAGA hat asked if more shelters would open. Trump said yes. A man in a tie asked if it was sustainable. Trump replied, so is a broken heart until it kills you. We're building something better. Then a 13-year-old girl stepped up. Thin arms, nervous hands, her voice cracked. My dad's a vet. He's been missing for 2 years. I just want to know, if he comes back, would there be a place for him too? The silence was deep. Trump walked down the steps and knelt beside her, took the mic, but spoke soft. Tell him if he finds his way home, the pancakes will be hot, the coffee will be strong, and the chair by the window will be waiting. She cried. Trump hugged her. Someone recorded the whole thing. It hit 22 million views in 24 hours. That night, Carlos sat down beside Trump. Sir, I saw your rally back in 2016. I didn't get it then. I get it now. Trump smiled. We weren't supposed to fix everything. Just remind people it could be fixed. As the crowd cleared, the little girl stayed behind. She walked up to the packed wall and wrote a name in red ink, D.A.D. Next to it, she drew a tiny house and wrote, Come home. Later that week, a man matching her father's description walked into a Waffle House in Tennessee, asking about the pancake place where people start over. They flew him back that night. The reunion didn't happen on stage. It happened in the booth by the window, just like Trump promised. No media, no spotlight, just a girl who got her father back. Trump watched from the parking lot and whispered, That's what this was always about. And inside, the Pancake Pact gained one more name. By week 3, the Waffle House had become something more than a restaurant. It was a movement, a battleground of redemption. Veterans who hadn't spoken in years were giving advice to teenagers. Homeless men were memorizing scriptures. Dishwashers were sharing poetry in the parking lot after closing. News vans came and went. Pilgrims from all 50 states showed up. Not to take photos, but to help. And then the governor showed up. He didn't call ahead. He didn't bring cameras. Just walked in with boots on and a baseball cap pulled low. Aide trailing him like a shadow. He nodded at the staff, ordered black coffee, then walked to the Pancake Pact wall and read every name. Didn't say a word. Trump was behind the counter teaching Marcus how to make over-easy eggs without breaking the yolk. You need finesse, not force, Trump said. That's true with eggs, and it's true with people. Randy nudged him. Governor just walked in. Trump didn't flinch. Tell him the coffee's on the house. The governor approached slowly. I didn't come here for politics, he said. Trump smiled. Good. We don't serve that here. I came because I've got 12,000 veterans living in tents in my state. I don't know how you did this, but I need it. Trump handed him a spatula. Then grab a pan. It starts with breakfast. The governor stayed for 2 hours, took notes, spoke to every vet, asked questions. He promised funding before he left. "Whatever it takes," he said. And just like that, state officials started showing up. Not to talk, to learn. But the moment that shook the room didn't come from a governor or a news crew. It came from the man who didn't have a name. He walked in just before closing. Dirty clothes, beard like a blanket, no ID, wouldn't speak. Just stared at the Pancake Pact wall for 10 minutes, then walked to the kitchen and picked up a mop without asking. Marcus tried to stop him. "Hey man, you can't just—" But Trump waved him off. "Let him." The man mopped for an hour. Every corner. Every tile. Then he sat at booth 5, folded his hands, and waited. Trump approached. "You served?" The man nodded. "Just once." "You got a name?" The man stared at the table, then whispered, "Not anymore." Trump didn't ask again, just poured him coffee. The next morning, the man returned, and the next, always early, always silent, always working. Randy started calling him Ghost. Everyone did, and Ghost never corrected them. One day, a reporter asked Trump why he let a nameless man clean his floors. Trump said, "Because service doesn't require a name. It requires heart." That quote became a mural, painted across a city wall downtown. Service doesn't require a name. It requires heart. DJT. Then came the storm. Not the metaphorical kind, a real storm. Category 2. Headed for Georgia. They had 36 hours. Trump called in every volunteer, set up cots, ordered supplies, converted the Waffle House into a storm shelter. People came not for the food, but for the feeling, the safety, the hope. And in the middle of the storm, when the winds screamed and the power went out, Ghost stood in the kitchen with a flashlight taped to a mop handle, guiding people through the dark. He didn't speak. He just served. And when it was over, and the sun cracked through the clouds, people cheered. Huddled families wept. Trump walked out into the debris, looked at the sign still standing, then looked back at the building full of strangers who had become soldiers again. He smiled. We didn't lose a single soul. That night, Ghost finally signed the pact. No name, just an X. And beside it, Trump wrote 4 words. He was one of us. The storm passed, but left puddles the size of memories in the parking lot. The smell of wet concrete mixed with maple syrup and diesel fumes. The Waffle House opened its doors again before sunrise. Carlos was already pouring coffee. Marcus was checking generator cords. Randy replaced the blown-out speaker by the window. And Ghost, still silent, was fixing a broken step using nothing but a bent spoon and 2 zip ties. They didn't talk about what could have happened. They talked about what didn't. They didn't lose a single soul. That afternoon, a boy showed up, 12, maybe 13. Too small for his hoodie, carrying a beat-up guitar case with duct tape across the back. He waited patiently near the counter until someone noticed him. Randy asked, "You here with someone, buddy?" The kid nodded toward the parking lot. "My dad's in the truck. Says he's not ready to come inside. But I am." Trump turned around from a booth where he was reviewing a city permit form. "What's your name?" "Caleb." "You hungry, Caleb?" He nodded. "But first, can I play something?" Trump motioned to the veterans' table. "You can play here. If it's good, breakfast's on me." Caleb opened the case and pulled out a dusty acoustic guitar. No strap, no polish. One string was missing. But his fingers found the chords like they'd grown up together. He started slow, just a hum. Then came the lyrics, a song he wrote himself. "I heard about the place where soldiers eat, where pain gets poured into pancake batter and flipped into hope. They said a man who once lived in a tower now serves coffee to ghosts and calls it power." No one breathed. Carlos froze mid-pour. Randy lowered the spatula. Trump didn't blink. Caleb finished, then looked up. "I wrote it for my dad. He used to be in the Marines. He's been quiet since Mom died. But I saw the video. The one where you hugged that girl and said her dad could come home. And I told him if I played here, maybe he'd come in." Trump stood, slowly, walked outside without a word. Everyone watched through the window. Caleb's dad sat in the truck, engine off, eyes on the dashboard. Trump knocked on the window. "You raised a brave kid," he said. The man opened the door. "You think he's ready for breakfast?" Trump asked. The man swallowed hard. "I think I am." They walked in together. No cameras, just chairs pulled out and plates filled. Caleb signed the pact that night, with a musical note instead of a name. Trump handed him a new guitar the next day, signed by every vet in the building. On the back, he wrote, "Songs save people. Keep playing." Caleb came back every Saturday, played during dinner rush. Veterans clapped. Even Ghost tapped his foot once. The Waffle House added a chalkboard above the jukebox titled "Lyrics That Built Us." Every week, someone added a line. The first was Caleb's "Flipping pain into pancakes." The second was from Marcus. "I didn't clap, but I stood." The third came from Ghost. Just one word. "Here." That night, Trump sat at the veterans' table sipping decaf. "Music matters," he said, "because sometimes words aren't enough." And across the room, Caleb started strumming again. No one talked. No one ate. They just listened. And for one whole hour, the music didn't stop. Sunday mornings at the Waffle House had become sacred, not just because of the pancakes or the makeshift sermons, but because every Sunday someone new walked in looking for peace and often left with purpose. The sign on the window now read, "Open 24 hours for food, faith, and family." Ghost had carved the letters by hand and glued them with sealant so strong not even the storm peeled them off. That morning, the sun was soft and low when she arrived. A woman in her early 50s, sharp eyes, gray in her hair. She carried no purse, just a small velvet box clutched in both hands like it might fly away. No one recognized her, until Trump looked up from his booth and saw the medal. A purple heart. She placed it gently on the counter like it belonged there. Randy walked over. "Ma'am?" "I'm not here to eat," she said. "I'm here to ask a question." Trump approached. "I'm listening." She opened the box. Inside was a photograph of her son in uniform, smiling, alive, gone now. "Killed in 2009, she said. IED. He wrote me a letter before he left. Said if anything ever happened, he wanted to be buried with his honor intact and his story known. But he came home in silence. I never got to tell anyone what kind of man he was." Trump nodded. "What was his name?" "Ethan James Wallace." Trump took the photo, held it up for everyone to see. "This," he said, "is the kind of man who built this table." She swallowed hard. "I saw what you did for William. And the others. But Ethan's been gone for 14 years. Is it too late for him?" Trump was quiet, then shook his head. It's never too late to honor someone who gave their life for a country that keeps forgetting to say thank you. He walked to the Pancake Pact wall, grabbed a marker, and in the top corner, where no name had been placed yet, he wrote, Ethan James Wallace, 1966–2009. The reason this wall exists. The woman cried into her hands. The staff clapped. Ghost saluted. Big Joe rang the order bell like it was church bells in a forgotten town. Later that day, they added a new section beside the Pancake Pact. A memorial board. The ones who never got to sign. One by one, veterans wrote names. Friends, brothers, sisters, gone, but not erased. Carlos added 6. Marcus added 8. Trump added 2 from his old Secret Service detail, who died after duty from wounds no one ever saw. The mother came back every Sunday after that. She wore Ethan's dog tag and helped organize the new honor box, a wooden chest where visitors could leave photos, letters, medals, and memories. Once a week, they'd read one out loud during the morning meal. Caleb would play something soft. People would cry. And then they'd eat. Because grief needed nourishment, too. One morning, a little boy walked in holding a drawing. His dad had died overseas. He handed it to Trump. It was a picture of a soldier holding pancakes. Trump smiled. "What's this?" The boy said, "My dad said heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they serve breakfast." That night, they had the drawing framed. And beside it, in bold marker, Trump wrote, "We remember so we don't repeat. We serve so we don't forget." The next day, 3 new cities called. 2 governors offered buildings, and a bakery donated 1,000 loaves of bread. But Trump wasn't focused on expansion. He was focused on the next face walking through that door. Because someone would. Someone always did. And when they did, he'd be there, behind the counter, pouring coffee, ready to say, "You're not late. You're right on time." Monday mornings were usually quiet. A slow hum of scrambled eggs, half-filled coffee mugs, and Caleb's soft guitar in the corner. Trump liked it that way. It gave people space to think, heal, start again. By now, over 600 names lined the Pancake Pact wall. The kitchen had 3 shifts. The sleeping trailers were full. A waiting list stretched across 3 states. But no one was turned away. If you showed up hungry and broken, they fed you and reminded you who you were before the world tried to erase you. That morning, the door opened with a gust of cold air. A man walked in, tall, scarred, and angry. His army duffel dragged behind him. He wore dog tags like they were chains. His face was hard, like stone. But his eyes, they were begging. Randy greeted him. "You hungry, sir?" The man sat at the veteran's table and said one word. "No." Trump noticed from across the room, walked over, sat down across from him. "You serve?" "Twice. Iraq, Afghanistan. Lost half my squad. Came home to nothing. Wife left. Church ignored me. VA gave me pills. Now I got nothing but ghosts." "What's your name?" "Tyrell. But don't write it down. I'm not here to join." Trump nodded. "Then what are you here for?" Tyrell's jaw clenched. "To see if any of this is real, or just another camera trick." "No cameras here. Trump said. Just burnt bacon and broken people who refuse to stay broken. Tyrrell leaned back. I don't do God. I don't do trust. And I sure as hell don't do hope. I don't blame you, Trump said, but hope's not a policy. It's a choice, and you already made it by walking through that door. Tyrrell scoffed. You think words fix war? Trump stood. Number but pancakes help. He called to the kitchen. 2 stacks, extra butter, no charge. Tyrrell stayed. Ate slowly. Didn't say thank you. But he didn't leave. Later, during the noon rush, something unexpected happened. A group of veterans asked if they could pray over lunch. Tyrrell was at the table. He shook his head. Count me out. One of them said, You don't have to believe. We'll believe for you. And they bowed anyway. Tyrrell sat frozen. Then, without thinking, he closed his eyes for 3 seconds. Just 3. No words. Just silence. That was enough. That afternoon, he helped carry crates from the back. Didn't ask for pay, didn't want credit. Just wanted to move. Trump saw it all. By dinner, Tyrrell was clearing plates. By closing, he was talking. By sunrise, he asked for a Sharpie. He didn't sign his name. He wrote a question on the packed wall. Is it possible to believe again? Trump added the answer right beneath it. Yes, but it starts with breakfast. The story spread. People from other Waffle Houses started writing prayers on napkins. One cook in Missouri taped a note above the grill. Faith served hot daily. That week, Trump received over 1,000 letters. One from a nurse. One from a former addict. One from a man who hadn't spoken to his son in 10 years, but saw the video of Tyrrell and drove 4 hours to shake his hand. Tyrrell didn't become a preacher. He became a shift lead. And when someone asked him what changed, he said, They let me sit at the table, even when I didn't believe. The Waffle House added a second packed wall. Above it was a sign ghost carved by hand, for the ones who weren't sure they belonged, but came anyway. And just below it, in permanent ink, Trump added, Doubt is allowed, quitting isn't. It started like a normal Thursday. Rain on the windows, sizzle on the grill, ghost restocking the salt, Trump at booth 4, writing notes on a napkin, his favorite makeshift to-do list. Big Joe ran the kitchen. Randy fixed the broken coffee maker with duct tape and hope. Caleb strummed in the corner, playing old Johnny Cash like he was born with a pick in his hand. Then the door opened. They walked in, holding hands. A man in a wrinkled shirt and a woman in a faded sundress. Both in their late 50s. Both wearing dog tags. The man spoke first. Is this the place where people start over? Trump looked up. That's what we hear. The woman smiled. We met in the army, got separated by life, reunited online 3 weeks ago. We're both clean now, trying again. Thought maybe this place could be the beginning of our second life. Trump stood. You looking for jobs? They shook their heads. We're looking for a wedding. Silence. Then laughter. Then applause. Caleb dropped his guitar pick. Big Joe yelled, I'll cook the cake. Trump smiled. Well, you've come to the right chapel. Within 30 minutes, the Waffle House was transformed. The veterans' table became the altar. Syrup bottles wrapped in napkins made a centerpiece. Ghost brought in 2 folding chairs and draped them with a U.S. flag. Tyrrell grabbed a Bible and asked if he could read something. Don't make it long, someone yelled. "We've still got orders coming in." Trump stood beside the couple. "Do you have rings?" The man pulled out a small twist of wire from his pocket. "Made it myself. From the radio antenna of my old Humvee." Everyone went quiet. Trump nodded. "That's the most American thing I've heard all week." Randy officiated. Big Joe cried. Marcus held a pan over his head like a ceremonial arch. And when the couple kissed, the whole room stood. Trump made them sign the Pancake Pact together. 1 Sharpie, 2 names, right under Caleb's musical note. Later, over scrambled eggs and wedding toast, the woman looked at Trump and said, "This place, it's not a restaurant, it's a lifeboat." Trump replied, "We just serve pancakes. God does the rest." Photos were taken, not for Instagram, but for proof. That second chances were real. That love could be reborn between booths and buttered toast. The couple spent the night in one of the shelter trailers. The next morning, they cooked for everyone. And before they left behind the wire ring, sealed in a mason jar, with a note. For the next couple who thinks their story's over, it's not. Trump placed it on the counter beside the honor box. That day, another couple walked in. She was pregnant. He was trembling. They didn't ask for food. They asked, "Is it true? Can you start over here?" Trump pointed to the jar. "Yes. And sometimes all it takes is a piece of wire and a little faith." The Waffle House added a third wall, the vows wall. People wrote promises, to themselves, to each other, to God. And above it, in Caleb's handwriting, it read, "Love returns where dignity lives." It started with a man in a cheap baseball cap and mirrored sunglasses. He walked in around 8:30 a.m., ordered a black coffee, sat alone in booth 8. He wore a hoodie, kept his head down, and asked too many questions. Randy noticed first. "That guy's not here for waffles." Big Joe peeked out of the kitchen. "Undercover journalist," he said. "I'd bet my spatula on it." Trump knew the look. He watched from booth 2, didn't say a word, just waited. The man finally stood, walked to the counter. "Mind if I ask a few questions?" he said, pulling out a notebook. Trump replied, "Only if you take off the glasses." The man hesitated, then removed them. Gasps spread across the room. It was Thomas Vail, anchor of one of the most anti-Trump cable news shows in the country. Cameras clicked, phones were raised. Randy nearly dropped a plate. Trump didn't flinch. "Coffee good?" Vail cleared his throat. "I came here to prove this place was fake. Thought I'd find staged stories, manipulated veterans, puffed up PR. And I was wrong." Silence. Vail turned to the room. "I spoke to Ghost. He hasn't said 5 words in 2 weeks. But when he handed me that mop, he looked me in the eyes. I saw it. I saw belief." He held up his notebook. "None of this fits our narrative, but none of it's fake." Trump stood slowly. "You came here expecting a script, but all we've got is truth, and it's usually wearing an apron and carrying old scars." The anchor swallowed. "I was told you'd stage everything." Trump raised an eyebrow. "You ever staged a kitchen full of PTSD and pancakes?" Vail chuckled. "I guess not." Trump poured him another coffee. "Stay for breakfast. No interviews. Just eat." He did. And before he left, he pulled out a Sharpie. "I know I haven't served," he said. "But can I sign?" Trump nodded. "Everyone's fighting something. Write what's real." Vale wrote one sentence on the edge of the wall. I came as a skeptic. I left as a witness. He left his press badge in the honor box. Later that night, he aired a 10-minute special on national television. No commentary, no edits, just footage from inside the Waffle House. Caleb playing, Marcus flipping pancakes, ghost sweeping, the couple with the wedding ring made of wire. The nation watched, and the phones lit up. Donations poured in, millions, but Trump rejected 90% of them. We don't need money, he said. We need hands. We need hearts. We need people who remember what it means to believe in someone again. That week, 1,000 volunteers signed up. Retired teachers, former addicts, single moms, CEOs farmers. The wait list for Operation Grit filled 10 pages. And Thomas Vale? He kept coming back. No notebook, just coffee. Sometimes he'd sit with Ghost. Other times, with Caleb. Once, he helped clean the bathrooms. On the packed wall, he added a second line weeks later. Sometimes the truth looks like breakfast and forgiveness. Trump didn't say much about it, but when he passed the table Vale sat at, he simply patted his shoulder and said, "Told you the coffee was good." And from that day forward, the Waffle House had a new kind of visitor. The ones who came not because they believed, but because they wanted to. It was Friday evening, the kind of warm Georgia night where the pavement still steamed from the sun and the cicadas buzzed like distant electricity. Inside the Waffle House, the grill hissed, the jukebox hummed, and the Pancake Pact wall stretched nearly to the kitchen door. They had begun adding a second board. Same rules, same marker. Real names, real stories, no edits. That's when they came in. 12 of them. All middle school kids. Most of them wearing uniforms 2 sizes too big, hair uneven, eyes heavy with stories too big for their age. One teacher trailing behind, pushing a cart of binders, nervous as a squirrel in traffic. She walked up to Randy. "Hi, is there someone in charge?" Trump stood up from the veterans' table. "That's me." The teacher's voice shook. "We're the neighborhood choir, or we were. The school cut funding. They said we weren't good enough to compete. But I promised them they could perform one more time. I just didn't know where." Trump looked at the kids. "You want to sing?" One boy stepped forward. "We're not very good." Caleb stood from the corner with his guitar. Neither was I. Trump pointed to booth 6. "That's the stage." Chairs were pulled back. Napkin holders moved. Caleb sat on the edge of the booth, strumming a soft chord. Then the lights went out. Complete blackout. The hum of the fridge stopped. The jukebox went silent. One gasp. Then silence. Devin ran from the back. "Transformer just blew, Mr. Trump. Whole block's down." The kids looked panicked. A few stepped back toward the door. Trump raised his hand. "Don't leave." He turned to Ghost. "Get every flashlight, every phone light, every candle." Within 2 minutes, the room glowed. A circle of phones and small lanterns surrounded booth 6. Trump looked at the teacher. "Now sing." They began slow. Off-key. Nervous. Then something strange happened. Caleb started humming harmony beneath them. Randy clapped rhythm on the counter. Big Joe tapped a spoon on a skillet. Tyrell added low bass. And suddenly, 12 forgotten kids weren't alone. They were part of something. Their voices cracked, but their hearts didn't. They sang 2 songs. Then one girl stepped forward and sang solo. Her voice was broken, shaky, but brave. And when she finished, the whole place clapped. Trump stood. I've been to stadiums, galas, state dinners. I've heard voices polished by money and microphones. But what I heard tonight was something none of them had. What? She whispered. Truth. He turned to Randy. Next Friday. They come back. Every week. Choir night. Randy nodded. Later, the teacher cried. They've never had a standing ovation. Not once. Trump wiped her tears with a napkin. Get used to it. The power stayed off all night. But the Waffle House never went dark. Not with flashlights. Not with fire. Not with faith. When morning came, the staff made breakfast using camp burners and backup generators. Trump flipped pancakes by candlelight. Marcus poured coffee like a machine. Ghost rewired the breaker with a screwdriver and a prayer. That night, they added a new plaque to the wall. Carved by hand, painted by the kids. We weren't good, but we were heard. Caleb signed it with a G clef. Trump signed it with a smile. And just above it, someone wrote, When the lights go out, we shine louder. It was just past 10 a.m. when he walked in. Clean cut, expensive shoes, slim briefcase, hair perfect. Smile like it was painted on. He didn't sit, didn't order coffee, just scanned the room like he was shopping for something. Randy saw him first. That guy's not here to eat. Trump sat at the counter drinking from a chipped mug, watching. The man approached. Mr. Trump? Trump didn't move. You a reporter? No, sir. I represent an investment group. We'd like to talk about licensing. That word hit the room like a bad note in Caleb's guitar. Licensing what? Trump asked. This brand, this story, Operation Grit, the media arc, the narrative. It's powerful. We can take this national. Apps, merch, podcast deals, YouTube mini-docs, maybe even a series. Trump sipped his coffee. We already went national. Pancakes went first. The man opened his briefcase. Inside was a folder, a contract, and a check. A big one. We're offering $47 million up front. You don't need to run the kitchens. We'll handle that. You become the face. You show up, give speeches. This is scalable, Mr. Trump. Global. Trump stood slowly, wiped his mouth with a napkin, took the contract, flipped through it, then tore it clean in half. The man blinked. Trump leaned forward. You can't franchise redemption. Silence. We don't sell second chances here, Trump continued. We serve them. One coffee, one hug, one name on the wall at a time. The man tried again. This could help millions. Trump pointed around the room. So does this. Big Joe crossed his arms. You want media? Film this. He picked up the torn contract and dropped it in the trash. Caleb played the first few notes of This Land Is Your Land. The man left. He never touched his coffee. Later, Trump called a staff meeting. Not in a boardroom. In the parking lot. Under a folding tent they used for Sunday meals. He stood on a milk crate. I want you all to hear this from me, he said. They're going to come. With cameras. With offers. With checks. They'll want to sell your stories. Package your pain. Turn this place into a brand. But we are not a brand. We are a bridge. He pointed to the Pancake Pact wall. That is not for sale. Marcus clapped first, then Ghost, then everyone. That night, Randy added a new sign above the register. Faith, non-transferable. Hope, non-refundable. Dignity, not for sale. Tyrell stenciled it into the wall with black paint. Later that week, another man arrived with a different offer. A church group from North Dakota wanted to start their own Waffle House for vets. Same idea, same heart. Trump flew out the next day. No cameras, just a box of Sharpies and a copy of the Pancake Pact. Within a week, 2 more locations opened. One in a converted barn, another in an abandoned firehouse. And at every one of them, the first thing they put on the wall was the same message. You're not late, you're right on time. Back in Georgia, the man with the briefcase sent a letter. Typed, cold. But at the bottom, written in ink, was a note. Maybe you're right. Maybe some things shouldn't be bought. Trump didn't reply. He just folded the letter and used it as a bookmark in the Bible that sat by the veterans' table. Page marked Luke 15, the prodigal son. Because some stories don't need investors, they just need to be lived. They found him sitting on the curb just before closing. Thin frame, tattered backpack, about 10 or 11. He wasn't crying. He wasn't panicked. Just waiting. Quiet as the night. Ghost spotted him first. He tapped on the window. Randy walked outside. Hey there, buddy. You okay? The boy didn't answer, didn't nod, didn't blink. He just held out a small folded note written in pencil. Randy opened it and read the block letters. My name is Jacob. I haven't talked since Mom died. I don't need food. I just want to sit somewhere people aren't yelling. They brought him inside. Trump was sweeping under the booths with Ghost. When he saw Jacob, he set the broom down. He didn't ask questions, didn't try to force a smile. He just pointed to booth 5, the quiet one near the jukebox. Right here, son, Trump said. That's the booth we save for people who need space. Jacob slid in, didn't look up. Marcus brought him hot chocolate. Big Joe made him a waffle in the shape of a heart. Caleb strummed a soft melody near the corner, just enough to let silence breathe. No one forced Jacob to talk. They just let him be. He came back the next day. Sat at the same booth, same silence. But this time, he brought a new note. If I stay quiet, can I help? Trump said yes. He gave him a pad and pen and had him take pretend orders to the veterans. They played along, gave him made-up requests. 4 laughs, 2 hugs, and a side of second chances. Jacob wrote each one down carefully, then handed them to Trump. By the end of the shift, the boy was smiling. Just barely. On day 3, Jacob brought another note. If I talk, do I have to stop coming here? Trump kneeled beside him. You never have to say a word, he said. But if one comes out, we'll clap quietly. That afternoon, Ghost dropped a tray of plates. Everyone jumped, except Jacob. He laughed, not loud, but real. And then he said his first word. Oops. The kitchen froze. Randy dropped the spatula. Caleb strummed a C chord. Trump leaned over. Son, that's the best word I've heard all week. Jacob smiled, cheeks red. He didn't speak again for the rest of the day. But he didn't need to. He had a job now. Official title, Hope Host. He passed out menus that didn't have food items, just phrases. You are welcome. You are not alone. Your story isn't over. Try again. Guests picked one before ordering food. Trump told the media, It's the only menu that matters. That week, a man walked in wearing a hoodie and sunglasses, said he hadn't spoken to his own son in 5 years, saw Jacob's story on a local blog. He asked to sit in booth 5. Jacob handed him a try again card. The man broke down. 2 weeks later, that man brought his son for breakfast. They signed the Pancake Pact together. Later that month, the kitchen wall got another addition. A plaque with Jacob's handwriting, "Even quiet people have something to say." Trump hung it himself, right next to the jukebox. And every night after closing, Caleb would sit across from Jacob and strum lullabies until he fell asleep. The boy who wouldn't speak? He started reading the honor box letters out loud on Sundays, one sentence at a time, and with every word, the Waffle House grew louder. Not from noise, but from healing. It was nearly midnight when she arrived. Torn jeans, sleeves pulled over her hands, a journal tucked under one arm like a secret. She stood outside for 10 minutes before stepping in. Randy noticed the hesitation. "You looking for someone?" She shook her head. "Looking for somewhere." Trump sat alone at the veterans' table, flipping through a Bible and half listening to Caleb hum a lullaby Jacob liked. When he saw her, he closed the book and stood. "You're here now," he said. She didn't respond, just walked toward the counter and placed the journal down. "Burned it a year ago," she whispered, poured coffee over the rest. Figured dreams didn't matter anymore. Trump opened it. Most of the pages were black. Charred edges, water stains, words you could barely read. One sentence stood out. "If anyone finds this, just know I tried." Trump closed the journal and nodded. "Well, now we try again." She didn't cry, didn't smile, just stared. He handed the journal back to her with a pen. "We don't throw away burned pages here. We write beside them." She stayed the night, slept in the corner booth with a borrowed hoodie and a folded napkin as a pillow. Ghost brought her a blanket. Big Joe put a cinnamon roll by her side. In the morning, she was still there. And beside her journal, she had written one new page. "Today, I am not invisible." She never told anyone her name, so they called her Paige. She didn't want a job. She wanted to paint. Trump gave her a wall, the side of the building facing the sunrise. Blank. Cement. Unclaimed. Paige spent 5 days sketching, 6 days painting. She didn't speak while she worked. She just moved like the wall was remembering something she'd once forgotten. When she finished, the mural showed a soldier sitting at a booth with no food, just a Bible and a pair of boots on the seat across from him. Above the image, painted in crimson, "We eat for the ones who can't." People drove from 4 states just to see it. Some wept when they stood beneath it. Some knelt. Some saluted. Paige didn't sign the wall. She just painted a single heart in the bottom corner. Caleb added music notes inside it. Jacob drew a tiny sun beside that. Trump walked out one morning, placed his hand on the brick, and whispered, "That's what healing looks like." He added a new tradition. Every vet who arrived signed the wall beneath the mural before stepping inside. It became known as the Wall of the Waited, a symbol for those who waited too long to be seen. Paige eventually spoke again. Software, careful. One night she told Caleb, "I thought my life ended with that journal, but maybe it started when I opened it again." Trump heard. The next morning, he framed one of her burned pages and hung it above the register. He didn't choose a page with words. He chose a blank one. Below it he wrote, "This is what happens when someone decides not to give up." It was just after sunrise when the noise started out back, hammering, sawing, welding. Ghost peeked through the supply door. You might want to see this." Trump walked out, coffee in hand. There, behind the Waffle House, in the gravel lot next to the trailers, stood a contraption, 9 feet tall, shaped like a torpedo, duct tape on one side, U.S. flag on the other. A tall man in goggles and a leather apron worked quietly with a blowtorch. "Is that a rocket?" Trump asked. Big Joe nodded. "Sure, looks like it." The man turned around. His beard was silver, face thin, eyes burning with the kind of purpose that either meant brilliance or madness. "Name's Curtis," he said. "Air Force, retired, aerospace technology. Had this idea in '98. Built 20 prototypes. This one's the only one that didn't explode." Trump squinted. "And you're building it in our parking lot because—" Curtis pointed to the sky. "Because I still believe in going somewhere." He kept working. Didn't ask permission. Didn't ask for help. He just kept building. The veterans didn't laugh. They handed him bolts, batteries, burgers. Page painted his name on the side. Jacob drew a star with a smiley face in the middle. Caleb started calling it Curtis 1. When the media caught wind, they called it Trump's Space Force Diner. CNN asked if he was funding amateur rocketry now. Trump replied, "I'm funding faith in impossible things." Curtis never said what the rocket would do. He just said he was tired of waiting to be useful again. One night, Trump asked him, "What do you really want out of this?" Curtis stared at the stars. "I want someone to look up and believe they still have time." The night before the launch, veterans held a vigil. Not for the rocket, for the reason behind it. They shared stories of dreams buried too soon, of ideas mocked, of lives paused. Curtis stood in the middle and whispered, "I never got to show my son what I built." He died thinking I gave up. But I didn't. That morning, they launched it. It flew 27 feet in the air and came down in a Waffle House trash bin. Everyone cheered like it touched the moon. Curtis cried. Ghost hugged him. Trump saluted. That afternoon, they added a new wall beside the mural Page painted. They called it the Wall of the Wild. It was for every dream someone thought was too weird, too late, too far gone. Caleb wrote, "Record an album in a chicken coop." Tyrell wrote, "Start a food truck for people just out of rehab." Jacob wrote, "Learn to fly." Trump didn't write anything. Instead, he framed a printout of the rocket's blueprint. At the bottom, he wrote, "You're never too old to blast off." Curtis stayed. He never rebuilt the rocket. Didn't have to. Because it already worked. It lifted every soul in the room. And on a windy Friday morning, someone spray-painted words on the back wall. "If Waffle House had a NASA division, we'd already be on Mars." Trump laughed when he saw it. Then he looked at Ghost and said, "You think we have room for one more wall?" It was the 1-year anniversary. 12 months since the night Trump stopped at a forgotten Waffle House in Georgia during a thunderstorm. 12 months since he bought it. 12 months since he rewrote the script. They didn't advertise the date. Didn't sell tickets. But word spread anyway. By sunrise, a line of people stretched for miles. Veterans, teachers, families, recovering addicts, choir kids, homeless men in suits borrowed from strangers, Mothers clutching dog tags, fathers carrying folded flags, children with drawings of pancakes and American flags. The parking lot was transformed. Booths were dragged outside. Generators hummed. Music played. And in the middle of it all stood Trump, apron on, sleeves rolled up, pouring coffee like it was day one. Ghost stood beside him. No mop today, just a tray of biscuits. Jacob held a sign that read, "Speak if you want. Smile if you can't." Paige painted names on paper cups. Marcus cooked eggs while humming Amazing Grace. Caleb strummed chords the way hope would sound if it had strings. And in the center of the veterans' table was an empty plate. One pancake, golden, perfect. No one touched it, because that one was for the ones who never made it back. Big Joe called for silence around noon. Trump stepped onto a milk crate. No teleprompter. No speech. Just his voice, cracked with truth. You didn't come here for politics. You came here because something in you remembered what it felt like to matter. This place was never about me. It was about what happens when a broken country decides to become a family again. He pointed to the Pancake Pact wall. Now 5 walls. Over 12,000 names. Not one erased. This isn't a wall of food service. This is a wall of resurrection. A roll call of people who said, "Not yet. I'm not done." The crowd clapped. Some cried. One woman yelled, "Thank you for saving my son." Trump pointed to her. He saved himself. We just gave him a table. That night, news stations tried to spin it. But the footage told the real story. A child hugging a soldier. A widow laughing with strangers. A choir singing beneath a mural of a soldier eating in silence. And in the corner of the feed, a man in a suit flipping pancakes like it was the most important job in the world. Because maybe it was. At 10:58 p.m., with the line still wrapped around the block, Ghost handed Trump a sticky note. On it was one sentence. "There are still people coming." Trump smiled, then said what would become the most quoted phrase in Operation Grit history. "Then we keep the grill on." No closing speech, no final bow, just a promise that as long as someone needed a seat, a warm meal, or a reason to sign their name on a wall, there would be pancakes, there would be coffee, there would be hope. And Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States, would be there. Apron on, heart open, saying the same words over and over again, like a vow. You're not too late. You're right on time. And that's where this story ends, at least for now. But the grill stays hot, the wall keeps growing, and the message remains the same. No one is too far gone, too forgotten, or too late. Every American matters, because sometimes all it takes is a booth, a pancake, and someone willing to believe in you. Where in the world are you tuning in from? Drop us a comment and let us know. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of second chances, quiet courage, or the power of simple kindness, hit like and subscribe. We share stories like this every week to honor the unseen and uplift the soul. Share this with someone who needs to know they still belong. Your support helps keep the doors open and the coffee flowing for every heart still waiting to come home. Thanks for being part of the family. We'll see you in the next one.